Hello, everybody. Welcome from the cell. This is my cell this past week until Saturday, I hope, when I can rejoin Sarah and Eden. This is actually a cool little apartment in downtown Toronto. Hope you guys are good. Welcome to the Do Nothing Project. Wednesday edition. You should thank Andrew because I almost forgot, since this is like a new thing, the Wednesday thing. I was working away and then I was literally going to go outside and do like a social distancing walk down the alley. and Andrew was like, "Yo, you ready?" So thank you, Andrew. If you've never been here before, on Sunday nights and now on Wednesdays, we come together, the community, really folks from all around, and we meditate, which is to say, we don't do very much of anything. Um, the I may lead I kind of lead a different technique each time, or really a similar technique with a different emphasis. Always with a a kind of approach that tries to be very kind of common sense and laid back about this meditation thing. So I hope you guys are all good out there. I don't want to forget, I have a birthday greeting. I'm not sure if he's on, but John from Vermont is turning 50 today, and Wendy O'Keefe in Cape Cod says happy birthday and wanted to give you a shout out. Apparently, that you've been digging the meditation thing and tuning into these DNPs. So if you're there, happy birthday, man! Very happy you're with our community, and let's meditate. Yeah. Oh, John Burke. Sweet. Okay. Yeah. He's saying no way. Yeah, that's you, bud. Happy birthday, man. You can thank Wendy for that. So before we do this practice, well, let's just give some birthday love to John here in the comments, which I see happening. Sweet. So before we do this practice, I thought I'd say a little bit about an experience that I had just like 2 days ago, when I meditated, which I think is a very familiar experience for people. And the experience was, first of all, I just was running around in this sort of urgency thing, as we do. I realized, oh yeah, I'm feeling all worked up. I need to meditate. So I sat down to meditate, and I kind of began to pay attention to my breath. And then I noticed, as I often notice, and we've talked about it here before, that I actually wasn't really fully with my breath. I was a little bit ahead of it. I was a little bit anticipating where the breath was going to go. I was a little bit like, and it's so interesting, this overlay of the mind on our experience. It's the gross overlay that we all notice is, okay, we're trying to pay attention to something, and then we float off into thinking about the past or worrying about the future. Most of us can notice that. Well, even that, sometimes it's hard to notice. But then there's a subtler way in which that happens, where we're still with the thing, we're still kind of meditating, we're still sort of noticing our breath or noticing sound or being in our body, but we're just in a little subtle mind that's taken us away. So part of our attention is still here, but part of us is taken away. And this is the thing I'm really interested in. These subtle ways in which we're not entirely there. Yeah, we can talk about the big, obvious ones of being completely checked out or completely present. But for most of us, it's much more like this place in the middle where we're a little bit present and we're a little bit not present. And so, what are the ways in which we're a little bit not present? For me, it often looks like a little bit of sort of getting ahead of myself, like I'm with the sensation of breathing, but I'm kind of like a little bit ahead, wondering what's going to come. Or other times, it's more like you're a little bit behind, kind of almost remembering something that happened previously, and the mind's a little bit behind the time, or it's a little bit ahead of it. And so much of this practice is about noticing this and coming down, like dropping down this well into the absolute now, which is not, it's both exotic and utterly ordinary. Like shaving back until you're at this actual exact moment of now, moment of this sensation, and trying to stay just with that. And it's so delicate, this procedure. There's something so delicate and committed there in the intention, attention. And I was talking about this with my friend Oliver, and he said, "Yeah, it's like balancing on the head of a pin." I said, "Yes, dude. That's exactly it. When you're in that place, when you're meditating and you're really right there, there's a sense almost just like that, like we're kind of balancing on this tiny point." So I don't know if that sounds familiar or not. That might sound like a bunch of esoteric, weird, gibbly floppity flop or whatever, gibberish. I'm going to try to guide a practice that points to that. That points just in this very natural way to this idea that we can be present or we can be really present, and that being present is a thing that just gets deeper and deeper, and that there's a kind of delicacy or a kind of holding your breath quality to it without any of the tension that we can kind of drop into, and it requires a certain amount of relaxation and equanimity and alertness. So let's do a little practice around that. um, yeah, really good to see everybody. Sweet community, man. It really it was perfect because I was so up in my head doing my writing thing, and I needed to kind of ground down. So I think it's just so good that we can do this for each other. So I much gratitude to all you guys for coming, and gratitude to Andrew and Lily, and Milan and my people. You guys are my people. Let's do a meditation. So it's 12:08. So we're gonna do 25 minutes. Takes us to 12:33. Here we go. Okay, so as always, if you have your own go-to practice, a lot of this is just about feeling the support of the community. You're welcome to do your any practice you like, or you can follow along with our little exploration here as we explore this idea of coming very delicately right into the present moment. So let's see if we can get under the contemplative cliche into what that actually means. You can start with a few deep breaths. And right away, we find this balance at the beginning. It's like as you breathe in, you're kind of finding some alertness, some presence. And then on the out breath, that's the relaxation, the softening. You could soften the forehead and the cheeks and the shoulders and the jaw. And this is practice, really, meditation is balancing between alertness. We breathe in, we notice we're here, we're present, we're aware, and relaxation, the out breath, the deliberate softening through the front of the body, keeping a kind of even, a sense of relaxation distributed as much as possible through the body, so that you're not tense, because tension in the body creates tension in the mind. We just breathe out any tension there, softening the shoulders and the hands and the belly. And from this place of sort of exquisite balance of being in our center, we connect to our commitment to not get uptight about any imperfections in the space around us. That's also part of being in that centered, poised place, allowing, whatever aches and pains might be there, that's okay. If there's lots of thinking versus if there's very little, if there's emotions, if there are distractions, we're just naturalizing all that stuff. It's all allowed to be here. And even so, within that, we make a commitment to being absolutely present. And it helps here to work with a home base. So you don't need one. You can just sit in presence and let the moment move through you, unfold all through you, up through you, whatever your metaphor. It's like you're completely loose and open, and the moment just continually updating in you. And you can also do this with a home base. So you just pay attention, choose to pay attention maybe to the feeling of the breath, or maybe to like the sound of a fan or a vent, or maybe to the sensation of your feet on the ground or your seat on the chair or cushion. You can really work with anything. And the idea is to get absolutely present with the sensation as it is, feeling it, hearing it. So try this for a little while. Good. So just being patient here as we get settled, letting the breaths be a little bit longer. We're just staying with the sensation, and notice sometimes at the start we're a little bit almost too tense or over vigilant, like too tight, and see if it can be a kind of loose, relaxed way in which you're paying attention. Like you're not in any hurry. Like the sensation or the sound is coming to you. So we kind of back off from it, backing up into our awareness. Good. Stay right there with the sensation. Notice it takes just a split second for the mind to start to drift off just a little bit. And we just notice that and go, oh man, this is unbelievable how subtle and sneaky the mind is. You notice it and then you just kind of come back right here. And as you do, see if you can get really sort of delicate in how you're paying attention. As we settle, as we slow down, you might start to get a little bit more still in the body. Our attention can start to get a little bit more delicate. It's like we're playing this game. Can I be right here at the exact moment with this sensation? Can I notice as soon as I'm off a little bit and come back? And can I do this in a way that's not tight or tense, but that's relaxed? That's sort of the game. And sometimes at a point in practice, it's like suddenly I become aware of the feeling of stillness somewhere or of quiet or of space. And we can start to deliberately and very delicately pay attention to that. Sometimes it's sort of in the sensation. But the key to noticing it is getting really still yourself, delicately balancing on the head of a pin here, noticing something very soft, very subtle. What's the subtlest part of the sensation? Can you get quiet and still enough to notice that? Good. So there's so many ways to find that stillness. There's being really curious about something in the foreground and getting very still. There's also just relaxing and being. Kind of end up taking us to the same place, just kicking back and letting yourself just sit here, enjoying the peace and quiet. Notice if that might be more what you need. The other is causing some strain or getting you into some kind of like head trip about doing it right. Remember, the stakes are super low here. Just sitting and being. And you might need to back up and have a slightly more relaxed approach. Okay, good. So the last few minutes, we'll just do a little practice that's about connection, a variation on a loving kindness practice. And that's what these practices really are about. These friendliness practices. We say they're ostensibly about wishing people well and developing this muscle of caring, of friendliness, of compassion. And that's all true. But even more fundamental than that is this practice of recognizing how we're connected, interconnection. So, for this last bit, think about think about who you're going to Zoom or call later today or tomorrow. What friend, what family member, someone who you like talking to that can be a support for you, that you can be a support for. Maybe there's someone you're already checking in with every day. Just think about that person and picture how they looked the last time you spoke to them, whether it was through a video thing or if it was through just the voice. You can kind of visualize how they looked, how you imagine they might have looked. Just acknowledging this connection. And you can send through that little line of connection, you can send some good vibes. So may you be well, may you be safe, healthy. And then think of a second person, someone else who maybe you haven't gotten in touch with, but it might be nice to reach out to, just to open up that line of communication, of mutual support, of friendliness. You can picture that person and imagine what they would look like on your Skype call or on the phone, or maybe it's by email. Acknowledging this connection. This is our larger nervous system. This is how we redistribute the load of stress that's coming onto each of our nervous systems. It's through recognizing that we're connected and actually drawing in support from those connections and offering support. So beyond that, you can think of kind of picture a web moving out. Each node lights up another person in your network, in your community, family member, a friend, a colleague, the people here. Include me in that, include the people on this call, this larger nervous system, this larger network of support that we can send out some friendliness down through that network. So may everyone here be happy, be healthy, be safe. And breathing in support from that network, breathing out care. And it's really up to you how wide you want to spread the net, how wide you want to cast the net. It goes very, very wide, or wider. Maybe just send out final, whatever you want to call it, blessing through that network. May everyone be safe, healthy, happy, centered. And just breathe in that sense of connection. Happy to be connected to you guys. Good practice for the middle of the day. Welcome to share any reports about that thin slicing, the balancing on the head of a pin. I'm curious who, for whom that lands for, and for whom not so much, or does it create some kind of expectation or ideal of what you're supposed to try to do that then gets in the way of what you're doing, which can happen. Any meditation guidance or prompt is really only useful insofar as it's useful for you. You know, it's not about it's really about what lands. What prompt kind of lands it for you. So you should be paying attention, in a meditation as a practitioner to kind of what prompts and what home bases and what orientations kind of work for you. And then when you're meditating on your own, you can, hit that up. So I'm just seeing there's a question from Liam. Any meditations I'd recommend for someone who's hypervigilant? What is good to practice to help with non-reactivity? Yeah. Well, I'm hypervigilant, so I can definitely speak to that. Hypervigilance is a kind of reactivity, of course, right? Because you're hyper, you're like this, kind of like noticing everything. In a way, you're kind of bracing yourself for the worst. So there's this bracing energy, and which means that something happens, there's a startle or there's a reaction, and so it's a kind of reactivity, and so yeah. So I guess there's different things work for different people. First thing I would say is with that kind of nervous system, you need to be really patient with yourself. Um, it takes time for that nervous system to settle. And sometimes before you sit, you may actually want to do some movement or something. Like the classic Qigong piece, which I love, is you stand up and you do this, I don't know, like a disembodied head. You basically do this shake, the Qigong shake. They call it shaking off stale qi. And so I often do that if I'm feeling very wound up. I'll just do some shaking and twisting and stretching. I mean, of course, yoga is kind of about that too. Even going for a run, working out, like some kind of way to kind of sort of shake off some of that excess energy. And then when you get in, you just first of all have that real steady patience. And I think, different kinds of practices will work for different kinds of people. For a hypervigilant person, even though you'll be probably good at mindfulness, the piece you want to work on is really the shamatha, the concentration, the peaceful part of concentration, the settling, the relaxation. So paying attention to something soothing in your experience, some kind of rhythmic thing like the breath or even the slow movement. Sometimes I move my hands or my body. Finding something comforting and soothing that can kind of bring down the nervous system is good. Similarly, for some people like that, just a do nothing practice where you're just giving yourself a break, because too much trying to do something can bring too much energy into the system. So I guess I'm saying you kind of I gave you some ideas, but you sort of gotta explore and see what works. Yeah, I hope that's helpful. Brooks saying the prompts resonate and love the exploration of bigger spaciousness lately. No specific home base, just a sense of allowing what is to be. Being is a good place to be. Word. Well, thanks for all the hearts. Okay, someone's asking me, do you ever have a panic when you reach that depth? It's a great question. Yes, sometimes that happens. I don't get that really anymore, but it's very common. It's kind of hard to explain. We get really, really, really still. How do I put this? When we get really, really still, sometimes we can come right up to the edge of something. You could call it our own non-existence. This may not even be what you're talking about, but this can happen. Where all of a sudden it's sort of like this no self moment where you get so quiet and so still, there can be a sudden feeling of panic that comes up to the nervous system, like, oh my God, maybe I don't exist. I have to secure myself. I have to figure things out. There can be this surge of like kind of little bit of freak out energy. And the there's different ways to work with that. I mean, first of all, it's fairly rare, but it does happen. The main kind of meditative thing is just to have equanimity with that. You just have equanimity. The idea of the practice is you're trying to have equanimity with more and more intensities, and you can be equanimous enough with this absolute sense of coming to an edge. You can actually have a classic experience of a cessation or traditional stream entry in the Buddhist way. That's kind of one way it happens. But a lot of us, for me, I often go, "Ugh, it comes up too big and I can't go through because I lose my equanimity. And that's not a big deal because it's just that's kind of one way in which certain things can happen. Uh, the other thing is just to relax, to notice what's happening, to relax back and pull back from what feels like too intense an edge, and maybe reorient to something that feels more, nourishing or comfortable or easy to access. And don't make a big deal of it. It's like, okay, oh, that seems too intense. Time to back off, shift to something over here. Um, in every meditator's career, there'll be points when you're coming up against intensity. That particular thing I'm describing is fairly boutique, but it can happen. So there's a bit of perspective around that. Um, okay, Jeff's saying, "Say you're always startled, Jeff McPee." I know, bro. You got a big startled response. Well, it's just because your nervous system is got a ton of energy. I know and so that's just what you're working with. That's your gift and your challenge. Like everyone's got a gift and challenge. So you got the huge energy. It's a huge giving, gift, because that's how you are. You're a giver, um, and it can be a challenge because it's so kind of over vigilant and over ready. So you just got to be patient with yourself. That's where you are. If you notice a startle response, just try to hold it softly. um, the same advice I gave around the hypervigilance is relevant for you, Jeff. Um, just working with what works, and but you always got to begin with where you are. If you just have a nervous system that's a little more inclined to that, that's just what you got. Practice is good for it. Yeah. So someone who's saying that, lovely to see 68 sources of energy from everywhere. Yep, the love cloud, totally. Oh, just to say a little bit, someone's saying sad I canceled the April trip. Yeah, so unfortunately, with this, all the programming at Omega and 1440 got canceled for now. I think I'm redoing, I think of the 1440 one will probably now happen in October and the Omega one in September. I'm thinking about offering, I think I said it last time, a how to guide meditation, a little online thing. I'm only going to take 20 people. It's sort of first come, first serve. I haven't really even announced it yet. I guess this is sort of an announcement. If you're interested, you can email about that. Try to put you on that. Um, Other things coming up, like this Sunday is going to be a CEC podcast. So Sunday night, we're going to have a friend of mine on who's a trauma therapist. So it's really about working with resources in this challenging time, how to support others, how to support yourself. Um, After that, I think CAC podcast is not going to be on Sunday nights. I think we're going to leave Sunday nights and Wednesdays for the Do Nothing Project for this community, and then we'll do the CAC thing will be its own day and its own time that I do with Tasha. So, but this Sunday we will do it. Um, I saw someone ask there about the pop stars thing, the Shawn Mendes thing. We might do it tomorrow. We were supposed to do it yesterday, but I think they're got busy schedules and probably they're young and things are changing a lot. So I'm really easygoing about it. So it'll be a last minute thing if that happens. I don't know if there's any other announcements, Lily. Oh yeah, Lily already mentioned about the how to guide thing there. Uh, okay. Okay, so something more about the. Chris is saying that panic is more like a feeling of you're messing with something you shouldn't be messing with. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The mind gets an idea. Oh, freaks! It doesn't know what this is. It's unfamiliar and gets freaked out. And it's, I mean, like I've said a million times, the punchline to this practice is getting over the small self. That's real. it just happens for most of us in a very soft, natural, easygoing way. But sometimes there can be opportunities where there are bigger jumps, and that can be alarming to a body mind that only ever knows itself as this limited thing. So there can be this little bit of like, oh, that seems freaky, you know. Um, so okay, Marilyn said she had an experience of elevating and looking peacefully down. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Marilyn. Good to see you here. Good to see everyone, all these names: Lauren, Allison, Chris, Jeff, Brooke, Amy. Yeah, some good response there from Andrew about the overwhelm too. Chris, have a look. Okay, guys, I think that's it for today. 45 minutes after the hour. I'm going to get back to my work. Maybe I'll sneak out into the alley and get some sunshine. Uh, Good to hang out with you. Love you guys. Super fun. Maybe see you Sunday night for our the CEC podcast.